everyone, and welcome to another Helm Two Tower podcast. I am Mike Burgess, and I am joined by my co-host Alex O'Neill. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Hello. Well, thanks for indulging us with where we skipped over a week. We took not really a break, but it was more so just scheduling stuff happened because we were trying to play the raid, the Root of Nightmares raid here in Destiny 2. In this podcast that we talk about Destiny 2, and I'm sure I'd hope you'd be aware of that by now. And a few episodes in, to the watchers here on YouTube or the listeners on podcast services. But we wanted to get some runs in of that before we podcasted, so we could talk about it and give our thoughts. And that gave us, and that just led to normal life stuff also getting in the way of recording a podcast. But we're here. But we're here to talk about all that fun stuff. But unfortunately, we can't talk about that quite yet because the day we're recording this podcast, some pretty sad and heartbreaking news happened for the Destiny world, and I think in general,
World at large.
Yeah. If many of you know, if you've probably been playing Destiny as long as we have, or even longer, will know the iconic voice of Commander Zavala, Lance Reddick. He unfortunately passed today. All we know is that it was probably due to natural causes of some form. We don't really know the exact specifics by any means, but very devastating news. He was a amazing actor. Obviously, he is Commander Zavala. There's no way, if, ands, or but, he is that character, and that he is like a cornerstone of the universe that is Destiny. Destiny would not be what it is without him, right? But he's been in a lot of other stuff. He's fantastic, like in The Wire, specifically from HBO. It's a fantastic show that he was a big part of. Other stuff too, I know he was briefly in Lost, and I remember him from that. And he's done
Fringe.
Fringe.
That's where I first saw him, was Fringe, and he's so good in that.
Yeah. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's done other voice work too, like in games. I know, he was in Horizon Zero Dawn, and I believe he's done some other gaming stuff too. But not those are kind of like some of his more bigger, well-known roles and stuff, right? But yeah, very sad. Really unfortunate to have this news break today. But it's really sad, but it was also, as we've talked about in previous episodes, it's like kind of a weird time to be in the Destiny community right now and stuff. We've definitely talked about it off the podcast and a little bit in previous episodes, but today was a good reminder of a positive force that Destiny and the general community at large, and just seeing my pretty much since the news broke today, my timeline has been nothing but well wishes to family and loved ones for Lance, and also seeing just all the tributes and already seeing a bunch of art celebrating Zavala and famous quotes he had from the game being remembered, and having these cool tower memorial pictures of Guardians surrounded by Zavala, and that's been my timeline basically all day. So it's very sad, but it's also been very heartwarming in a similar sense, very bittersweet kind of thing, right?
I don't think there's a single character that's even jokes and aside, that's as beloved in the Destiny community as Zavala, right? He's kind of the anchor for everything, and a lot of people kind of come back to Zavala as the dad of Destiny. And I love it because Lance Reddick, very active on Twitter, very socially forward thinking. He supported a lot of great causes trans rights and Black Lives Matter and things like that. He was very vocal person, and he would always be playing Destiny and taking videos of playing Destiny with his dogs and stuff, so he's definitely loves that community as well. And it's nice to see just how much of an impact it clearly had on us and everyone who plays Destiny.
Yeah, for sure. It's an unreal thing to just think that
it's hard to process.
It's hard to process. Yeah. Cause how much we play even just for our own personal level of how much you play the game, and literally hearing his voice like literally probably every day for like
Yeah.
months at a time throughout the year because I'm like just logging in and going to the tower and seeing him, good to have you
Yeah.
back, just hearing him say all these different lines and, throughout the game. So it's, yeah, gonna, yeah, it is, it's just life sometimes. It's very sad and, we're all kind of just mourning and, where this goes in Destiny, I don't really want to get into today because it's just happening. The only time will tell, so we don't really have to. I don't want to like sit here and like think about like what they're gonna try and do to with the future of this character in the game world or whatever. Like we can talk about that later or some other time.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they don't even know at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we'll try and do the best pivoting here too. Now, just talking about Destiny and the stuff we've been doing and playing the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we said, I'll go ahead. What were we gonna say?
A lot has happened in like the 2 weeks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, a lot has happened. We got the raid, the Root of Nightmares raid has released. That was right about to drop from our last episode. Is now out, and we've been playing it. On top of that, we got a secret exotic mission that just secretly dropped last week, which was very cool. So we'll talk about that as well. Some interesting story stuff has been going off with Season of Defiance. So there's some fun stuff there, and we're already getting some interesting like bugs and kind of fixes and patch notes and things like that, and like starting to hear rumblings of a mid-season patch, which sounds exciting.
Yeah.
I'm sure definitely a lot of things to hope for there. But let's start with I think the big one here. Let's talk about Root of Nightmares, the raid. So you ran it twice, right, Alex?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've ran it twice. I've ran it 3.5 times because I joined
Nice.
I joined Jake for our group, our friend in our raid group chat for a run one afternoon, and then we only got about halfway through it, and then because we got like 2 random LG people, and then just it went okay, but yeah, we just ran out of time.
Yeah.
But since then I've ran it with our group. That was just last night. And then I've done two other subsequent runs with my clan. But yeah, it is. Yeah, I enjoy that raid. I know it's been the talk of the town and in the worlds of the high skill Destiny players and the contest mode chasers of like they've have definitely are concerned about like what Bungie is trying to do with difficulty in the game and other stuff. But it's that's a whole other crazy
Can of worms
to and whatever to be a ball of yarn to untangle or whatever. Difficulty in Destiny right now. It's a weird topic, but besides all that, I think this is. I wouldn't. It's probably still. I wouldn't say it's my favorite raid in the game overall. I would say. Well, I would say visually and aesthetically, I would say it's probably one of the best ones in the game.
Yeah.
It's like the visual spectacle of it is really, really cool and impressive, and the environments that you're in are like huge. Like they're like there's like parts of that raid that are just like parts that like aren't even part of a major encounter, and you're just like running to the next major encounter, and those are themselves are like labyrinthian and like feel like they're like the size of like their own like mission in themselves. It's pretty wild, like how massive it feels.
Yeah, thematically too, the way the visuals tell a story as you go through the raid, like we haven't really had that before, like at least not that. I think Deepstone Crypts definitely has a little bit of that, right? Where you kind of go into where the crypt is, you launch up to the facility, and then it crashes right where you started. And this has like a little bit of that as well, but just the idea of this is the Witnesses pyramid ship. It's an important place. We get to see this. The third encounter takes place in this room that we see in the post credits cutscene at the end of Witch Queen, which we've just never had anything like that. And it's
really cool.
It's like a super cool room with like Titan, Mercury, and Io just like floating right in the center, as like that effervescent reminder of what the Witness did. And obviously kind of leading into what it seems like the overall story is going toward next. But yeah, just these themes of light and dark, and the two being so incongruous, like the light
Yeah.
being these random shapes spreading out and this flower blooming and ripping through everything, and the dark being these kind of monolithic stone hard edged square shapes.
Yeah.
It's just really cool, and it helps that like throughout the raid, the mechanics that you're engaging with are also changing the environment and leading to the final encounter in another really cool thematic way. So yeah, I think just visually, it's really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's really cool, and like it has like really cool like environmental kind of stuff going on, like you said, where you don't really see it in real time, but it is very you can kind of, if you look at each encounter over time, you can see that like literally the whole time you are going through the raid, you start at the start of it and see this like tree, you see the basically the tree of silver wings starting to bloom, and as you get later and later into it, it blooms more and more, and then by the end of it, in the final encounter, you can see it like in its full or more or less like its full form, and has completely like destroyed, sort of destroyed and like ripped up all of the stuff you've been running through the whole time, and like the in a similar way, like the first encounter you do, and it is like pretty much the same as the final encounter you do in like terms of like environment, so to speak, but it's all been like kind of eroded by all of the growth from the tree. It was really cool to see, and like you said, kind of the process of it, of the whole thing is, we go there because we know Nezarek is back in some shape or form, and then we learn in the raid that like we are essentially doing all of this stuff in the raid to revive him in his body so we can kill him. Like that's basically like the whole premise of the raid, like underlying premise of the raid, which they don't outright say it, but that's kind of like what's happening. And it's like once you like kind of see all that stuff, and you can even see like if you're in that first encounter, you can see like the tomb he breaks out of in the final encounter, and if you look in this little like kind of orange gem, you can see like his body like partially constructed, and like all like the like you can see like the veins like slowly forming into his body, and it's really cool. And just they try and I think they saw why people liked Rolk so much from Val the Disciple, and clearly tried to imbue some of that back in here with this. And I think they did a decent job with it, with Nezarek, because he's been in the lore for a good while, and now getting him more in game, right, is always kind of, I think, a cool thing. And like enough people knew about him, and I like that they kind of brought back this character that was not really like a big player, but had like an important role early on, and like still has an important role, and is kind of given us some more details about like things we didn't know about before through like a lot of like the lore and stuff, and we're like things you can read into, like specifically I know like on the exotic shotgun, there's a lore piece about you can straight up just read his final moments where he is betrayed by Savathun, and she takes the veil and has like betrayed him, and the whole like and there was kind of showed that like this whole time like people were under some impression that he was like actually kind of on our side, or like on his own side, but not really. It wasn't really sure. But this kind of cleared up that like he was always with the witness, but it was more Savathun doing her kind of lies and deceit and trickery to kind of pull one over on him, and also the witness, to kind of save the veil and save the veil from whatever the witness's plans were. And that you can kind of infer that like that's why the pyramids like left Earth and after the collapse, and because they were probably out there searching for the veil and trying to figure out where it was. And then in the moments of Lightfall, the opening of Lightfall, we see the witness finally finding it, and still don't know what it is exactly. I've definitely seen some interesting theories on that. And that'll be a thing that we're still gonna we're gonna have to wait till final shape or a later season closer to that to really probably find out what that is, and that's fine at this point.
It's cool.
Just kind of have to accept that.
Yeah, and mileage may vary, I'm sure, on accepting that.
Yeah.
It is cool to hear it as like this thing that the witness created from its like first actions, whatever it did first. So it is like the origins of the veil are clearly tied to the origins of the witness. So knowing that, it makes a lot more sense that we're not going to know all the details quite yet. But yeah,
Right.
just more Savathun. It really just feels like that thread from Witch Queen. We are just lining it forward to the final shape, and I think
Yeah.
that's being really well done, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of really cool. They definitely nailed a lot of the lore stuff that came out of the raid, and just some of the things you can pull from it, from that perspective, and like piece things together like we've been doing it, which is really cool. So I think they like overall I think it's a great raid, for a lot of aspects. Is it like the most challenging and asks a lot of you raid? Not really, but
No,
that's fine. Like it's not
yeah,
that big of a deal. I get there. I get like, there's a lot of people, in the community, especially when it comes to like people who are on the content creation side of things, who like they live and breathe like the hardcore, being like the top percentage of people, because they are always the eyes are always on them. So they like, in some ways, have the pressure to be that, right? But also like, I think some of them just live for that, and live for that sort of attention, so to speak. So I get that, like from that perspective, and you have like, contest mode, uh, for raids is always seen as like this major point for the game, like every year, right? It is, it is the pinnacle of difficulty, high tier content and challenge to like overcome in Destiny, like once a year for a lot of people. And that's just the way it is. There's definitely been way more content that's been brought over seasonally than is challenging now. But if in the grand scheme of things, like you don't see people being like, "Oh my god, GMs are out. Let's go watch GM day one raid clear. GM day one clears. Let's go. Let's go see master." Like not even like master raids when they come out day one. People are like, "Oh man, let's go watch." You're not seeing like, Destiny literally broke like Twitch records of its own records and viewerships,
yeah.
for this Root of Nightmares contest mode day one rating thing. So like it has a lot of prestige and like, that name on it, and it's had that legacy for so many years. Um, so
And I think that's like equally is significant because it is like a new raid that is like we're
yeah,
going in blind, right? Like
yeah,
contest mode is more of a new thing that started with Old Sorrow, which one? Crown of Sorrow, right?
yeah, that sounds
Um,
right.
so and that was more to make the race aspect of it, I think, a bit more competitive, kind of level out the playing field for that.
Right.
And I think there's probably some iteration to be done to like the contest modifier to make it potentially more long lasting and interesting. But again, I think the thrust of what's driving it is like everyone's showing up to see like where we're going, what we're doing, and who we're fighting. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that is the part of interest that draws the crowds, that brings everyone in, is like this newness to it all.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think it's just like it's a popular thing. Like this, like that's a big moment for Destiny, and to like draw a lot of people who like don't know, like still like loosely know what Destiny is, or know like there's these big moments, and that pulls in a lot of people. So so from that perspective, I see why that could be like a little disappointing to like that crowd who like they want it to be the thing that like it is. They want hard, like it comes just down to like they want hard content, and they want to be like pushed to this limit, and also like kind of, rewarded for that in a way that's like bigger than getting a piece of loot in a video game. I think they want to get the belts, they want to get the social,
Clout.
standing and cloud and all that stuff, and that's fine to like go for that. I think like that is what it is. But I think, I don't know. That's why they want that. It's still not fully clear what Bungie wants from that. I think ultimately they just want a bunch of people to check out their game, and,
Mhm.
which they that's why they partner with like stuff like Twitch Rivals and other stuff like that, and they just want get people to get into it and like check out the new stuff they're doing, like you said. So I think there is that weird balance. So like yeah, contest, like you said, contest mode I think is just a weird thing, and I think to be fair, I think it can be lumped in with the general sentiment with Destiny right now, where it is just kind of like, where like I think they're trying to figure out the difficulty, where they want the difficulty in the game to be, and the challenge to be, and like where they want that to be and not be in the game, and like what they view as like what should be challenging content for people to try out or not, are things that like anybody can just jump into and have a good time.
Yeah.
I think they're still figuring that out, and that's why we saw something like our contest mode seemed like way easier, and like it literally has the Root of Nightmares raid has more contest mode clears than literally every other Destiny raid combined clears, which that's a pretty significant thing.
Yeah.
So
It's also like a thing where with these difficulty changes, I kind of think of it as like the training belt
right,
idea of like they have put the greater number of the player base under the pressure of being underpowered way more frequently. So I think there's also just a
mhm,
level of players are getting much better at building themselves into being underpowered.
right,
We've been training in a weird way for all of this. So of course, when push comes to shove and that big moment comes up, we're going to perform a lot better in addition to subclass 3.0, in addition to Strand being extremely potent right now, in addition to surges and all of the mods being unlocked and loadouts and new exotic armor. Like there's just so much that has gone into us becoming more powerful and more equipped to deal with this kind of higher tier underpowered content that I don't think this is like a surprise at all. I
mhm.
don't think it means that the game is too easy. I think it just means that the way that we make the game harder has to evolve as much as we as like players have evolved.
Right, sure. And yeah, that's fair. I think there is something to them trying to still figure out the damage curve, the curve of the like level kind of streamlining, and also like general enemy health, because I think there are things like legendary campaign and the patrol. I think or I don't think patrol is -15. I could be wrong about that, but legendary campaign was -15 from most activities. Granted, that also still had some kind of leveling curve, but then you have things like legend lost sectors, which are basically essentially
Plus
minus
30.
or +30, and I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I mean, as of right now, you can't over level them, but I'm pretty sure they are not. They are in like a similar sense to that, and I think they just feel off. And I think there's something to that. Like it could just be like a power scaling thing of how their internal scaling power stuff works, and maybe we will get a little bit stronger. Like, granted, they have said they have plans in a mid-season patch to buff a lot of primary weapons in the game. So like I think they are aware that like things feel off.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's something for sure. And yeah, I think there's still a lot to like people figuring out things, because I've definitely noticed that where a lot of content that has surge stuff in it, when you use the matching surges, you feel like significantly stronger than you do without that stuff, and you can even tell it down to like using you have a solar surge and I use a solar SMG and I'm just shredding fools, but then I change to a heavy weapon that is arc, and I'm doing nothing to an enemy
Yeah.
in some cases where it feels like that. So like
Less than your primary.
yeah, and like I think that discrepancy like can feel not the greatest at sometimes. So I think there's definitely some tweaks and stuff they need to figure out with that stuff to like kind of make it better. Um,
A thing that, like I've noticed is like I'm a big fan of rapid fire auto rifles, and like auto rifle is like my go-to ad clear weapon when I'm just playing.
mhm,
And there's an adaptive frame strand auto rifle as part of the season, and it just feels so weak compared to
yeah,
even with surges and things like that,
yeah, just doesn't
comparative
feel good.
to something that has a higher rate of fire. It's just like, okay, rapid fires and whatever number crunching is going
Yeah,
on with them, they clear and they feel good, and that's good. But then you go down to a lower RPM and it just feels like I'm not even using an auto rifle, I'm using like a twig to hit these guys. And
yeah,
it just
doesn't
it's
feel
such a
good.
yeah, it's a noticeable difference.
Mhm.
So knowing that this midseason patch is going to focus on PvE, how much damage you're doing with different archetypes of weapons, like that's really good to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think auto rifles and still I think pulse rifles are the
Yeah,
two like
pulses
the two main ones I think that still just need a lot of help
and
because
hand cannons for folks that
yeah
like to use hand
yeah
cannons. They're just nothing
hand
in PvE.
cannons don't really feel good at all either. They haven't felt really great at all for a while.
Mhm.
So I definitely think there would be some positive changes to that, especially with like perks that they've added. Like I would say I haven't used a lot of strand weapons because I agree that like a lot of the strand weapons that are currently in the game, like you said, like the auto rifle. I did get a drop of the raid strand auto rifle finally, but I've not tried it yet, so that one might be better. But yeah, like the seasonal one from Seas Defiance does not feel great.
Yeah.
I don't think that even though most SMGs are feel really good in the game, I think that's like one of the few ones that just does not feel very great. Or maybe I just have not gotten the role I would like for it because it's a pain in the ass to get a role for it. But
Yeah, I'm
I
curious what the Trials one that just dropped today, how that
yeah
feels.
yeah
Because it's an aggressive frame, and like Ikelos, for example, SMG, that feels very good
yeah
because it's an aggressive frame, high damage, good upfront damage. So curious if the Trials one will also feel good.
yeah. I'm sure it'll definitely at least be better than than that Neomuna one for sure.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's definitely stuff they need to touch up with that stuff. So yeah, it is nice. I figured as much there would be a PVE primary weapon patch because I think they've said that in the past, like primary weapons are things they wanted to look at. Um, there's something else on my mind, but yeah, there's definitely just a discrepancy where like you have things like SMGs, and I feel like bows, like those two in particular, just feel really, they feel pretty good. Like you can just like, I feel like they feel pretty natural even in like higher tier stuff right now, where just yeah, pulses and pulses and auto rifles and stuff just feel like they
And
just
Scout, if it's not like a high impact Scout, it feels really weak too.
yeah yeah. Or you need like very specific perks for it to even feel worthwhile to use because I definitely have what is it? I got a nameless midnight drop. I'm pretty sure that's the Nightfall Scout.
Hmm.
I got it with Keep Away and the new Kinetic Tremors, and that feels pretty all right. But that's just because Kinetic Tremors is a really good damage buff, and that's a similar thing where I got a Battle Scar. That's like a World Drop Pulse Rifle with perpetual motion and kinetic tremors. And like, again, that is one that is like if I did not have that kinetic tremor like extra damage from from that perk, like that would be like feel terrible in at least in PvE. So that helps out a lot in that kind of stuff. Um,
You
but
know,
yeah,
it does feel good though. Glaives still feel good.
glaives are all right. I definitely need to level up
Unless you're a
some.
Syntho Seps Glaive person, which makes me
Yeah,
very sad right now.
yeah, they did nerf that. There's some interesting numbers going around on that. I saw on I think it's on Reddit. I know I went to the Forbidden Lands, but
No,
uh,
don't do that to yourself, Mike.
but yeah, there's interesting numbers going around because initially people were like, it's doing less damage than like a non-powered melee. What the heck, Bungie? But then
Yeah.
people are like, no, actually, you're still doing damage testing wrong because you're doing it against this, and they like a lot of people famously do damage testing against like with that one Lost Sector boss,
Yeah.
but
Carl.
he's like a certain tier of enemies, so like the damages are not like the same as like other tiers of enemies. So
Mm.
like it's not always 1-to-1. So people like did more testing with glaives, and it's like turns out they still do more damage than non-powered stuff, but they are definitely not as good as it were with that, and that's fine. Funnily enough, though, like on that same vein, I don't know if you saw, but like Winter Bite is still totally broken. Not because of
Okay, good.
not because of the melee, but I saw a clip. So this probably will be disabled by the time this
For
comes out
sure.
again. But
Absolutely.
I saw a clip that was fighting the Lake of Shadows boss with it, and a hunter shoots like a single tether at it, and then does the person from your first person shoots two of that glaive blast, and the boss is dead. just shoots 2 ice balls into it and it's just dead. So it's like, okay, something's definitely not right with that guy.
Some numbers are probably
Yeah,
messed up somewhere there.
Something's not right there.
I'm really curious. Like, I want to know because the new Warlock stasis exotic buffs stasis weapon damage, and I'm really curious if you can like combine that with Winter Bite to do some like mad crazy numbers or something. I probably am not going to be able to get people together to test that, but I want someone out there to do that. So if you do, let me know.
Yeah, I'd be curious too if somebody has done that testing. I know people have done testing, just general testing, but I don't know if they did it with Winter Bite specifically. But I know it was not particularly stand out from what people were saying. But who knows? But yeah, the difficulty conversation in Destiny is just so weird. And it's hard to kind of talk about we were talking about it the other night, like off podcast, obviously, but like it's just weird to be like talking about Destiny stuff right now, just because of like the community can just be so weird about things, or just like negative, and like they are taking negative feelings from other aspects of the game and lumping it into other things that don't necessarily need that extra lumping in with. And it's always, I'm sure there are plenty of other games that have this problem, in general in communities, and like how to like give feedback in a constructive way and not in a toxic and kind of poor, shitty way. People have, there's a lot of challenge with that and like weeding through that in communities and also people just who are just assholes.
Yeah. I mean, like, on one level, obviously, I'm invested, and I understand the like just that feeling, that personal feeling of connection, right? Because like we've both put over 2,000 hours in this game, and probably will put hundreds more into it even before the final shape comes out. And you're connected, you're invested, you've put this time, you've grinded this out, you've gotten your armor right, you've gotten your drip right, or whatever. So I understand that. Just that personal connection and how it can be frustrating. But yeah, I've definitely, and I think I brought it up, just like the negativity has just really been a bummer lately. Yeah. And it's weird to talk about it today, right? Because like there was like just a shitstorm just happening, and then like
they just stopped.
Lance Reddick passed away, and it's like the whole community kind of sobers up a little bit. And it's just like a weird vibe today in Destiny, and it's so it's like weird to talk about it now, but yeah, there's just like that. Just why do we have to like tear this apart? Like, why does it have to be so unendingly awful? If like, okay, they didn't get it right out the gate with the difficulty stuff. Like, they said that this is going to be a thing that they're looking to update and change. Like, this definitely makes sense to me why next season there's not going to be any power change, because I kind of want to keep everybody at this power so they can see what they need to do to adjust and make things harder, make things easier, rebalance things, and kind of keeping everything around the same power for a long amount of time is going to be able to definitely give a better sample and an idea of what they need to do for those difficult activities and for those easier activities. And there are things that are legend difficulty, like the daily missions or weekly missions you do in Neomuna, the little Vex incursion missions or whatever, that feel really good. And then obviously like lost sectors that don't. But we got to be able to like rein it in a bit and understand that these things are going to evolve and change. If it's not necessarily the best it's going to be right now, doesn't mean we have to get our pitchforks ready. We just need to bring it back down a little bit and understand that like they're trying to do a lot of stuff, and Bungie's very successfully introduced a lot of quality of life stuff like loadouts and commendations and things like this that are good, even if they're maybe not like their optimal form.
Right.
But they're trying and they're changing things and evolving things constantly. Like Destiny now compared to even Destiny when Beyond Light came out, when the first Darkness subclass came out, is a completely different video game. And it was fun to be on that ride and see the changes and the journey that we took to get to here. And I think you just got to take that step back and know that we are on a little bit of a roller coaster, and there are going to be things that are going to change and evolve. And I know that can be, I'm not necessarily giving Bungie a pass for that, right? Like, be critical, have criticism, but don't be like, so woe is me, the end of the world, this game sucks now, every time something isn't exactly how you need it to be, right?
Right.
It's just tone it down and bring the reaction in, and be critical because you care, not because you just want to start a shitstorm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely hard to, it's hard to parse that, right? I'm sure it's not, it's tough for them too, because it's stuff they've worked on for months and months. And, they had, eventually there's, a lot of things with a live service game. They have to work on a thing and then, get it into a state and then, actually put it in people's hands, because they don't really know how people are, the hundreds of thousands of different people that play this video game in different ways every single day, or like how they're going to interact with that stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like they have to eventually just be like, here's a baseline, maybe, and this is what it is. Like that really what like commendations and Guardian ranks feels to me, right? Like we definitely talked about that before. Like they have to just put something like this in the game and then let people start using it so that they get information, they get metrics, they see how people use it, they see like people's reactions to it. They can see things like, maybe in one end people not caring about it, but then also for some reason people willing to go into fucking Shirochi or Master Wellspring and just farm out commendations like weirdos. Like that's, there's people who are going to do that just because it makes a number go up. But, they in relatively quickly terms, all things considered, they kind of squashed it already. There was a patch this week, a recording that like pretty much like, they drastically reduced a lot of the Guardian rank requirements for commendations, and also removed farm, essentially like the farms that people were doing with that, which I think was a very good call on both parts. I would still personally say, for me though, I would really like to see a future where commendations aren't involved in any of the Guardian ranks process. I just think they should just be a thing that people just give out because that is a good thing to give, and then that score, that score makes sense in a world where, where we have an in-game LFG system and people can see those commendation scores and see those kind of, things that these people are knowledgeable about, because they also have this level of Guardian rank, meaning they show that people can do these kind of things. These are good things to have in a game, even though they can be used negatively. I've already unfortunately seen things like, me and my clanmates joked about it and like has made a meme out of it, because we saw Reddit. It was an LFG Reddit post where it was straight up just said, "Shut up, the 8s are talking," to like some player that they saw on their team that was level 6 or whatever. It was just like, oh man, fuck this. And that was like the post
already toxic.
Yeah, the post was pretty promptly deleted, but that was definitely a fun meme moment when we were doing the raid the other night, because like it was like one and the other guy were rank 7, so you were like, all right, rank 7 guys, let's start talking through this, and then someone's like, all right, so yeah. It's while it can have those negative effects, I think still seeing like, all right, I have limited time. I'm a person who has, wants to do like this weekly mission that they're throwing out that they're going to still make me, do what legend, whatever for the season. And, I want to get it done. I can at least see, this person has done it already. So that means they at least know what to do, or maybe, hey, this person has done it yet and I can help them get through it. That's cool too. Like you can, being able to see that more, directly in game is a good thing, I think, overall. And I think that's ultimately what commendations will be about. But I get that, like, right now in the game, they don't obviously have the in-game LFG, and that won't be till later this year. So I think they have to find a way to incentivize people to use it so they can get that, so they can get data and make fixes and changes to it. And clearly they were pretty quick to make the change of like drastically reducing the numbers. Like I want to say, like, if you've not seen some of the numbers before, to get to the max rank, Guardian rank, you had to get 6,000 commendation score, which is pretty insane considering what it's been. It's been almost a month since Lightfalls came out. It's crazy to think about. By the time
it came out on the 28th and it's the 17th.
Yeah, so but by the time this episode probably comes out, it'll probably be like the what it'll probably be like 21st maybe or so.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it'll be pretty much, we'll be like, 4 weeks out since Lightfall.
Yeah, it's true.
And they've already drastically reduced that stuff. I think now for like max rank, it's only like 1500 or something like that. It's like not even like, but I think originally 1500 was to like get to like rank 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
So like they drastically shrunk that down, which I think was a good call, because I think like Guardian ranks really should be about like the actual like challenge and achievements of like completing those higher tier challenges and rewards and showing that you've like done that stuff. I think that's definitely the approach, and they're getting that right. Resetting it every season. We'll see how that goes. That's just going to have to be a wait and see thing. I think initially it's not going to feel great. Just after that, but we'll see if they can kind of find a better balance of maybe even though it resets. If you got to rank 11 last season, you'll have less stuff to do, and maybe you'll be able to get to rank 9, 10, or 11 or whatever sooner. But I think this gives them the road to like we said, balancing the difficulty, balancing Guardian ranks commendations and stuff. I think is all part of the larger picture of like people for so long have wanted the world of Destiny without grinding a power score. And all the systems they just put in this game that we're talking about that they are now having to think are the stepping stones to that. You know what I mean? Like having those difficulty tiers that like challenge you in different ways, and kind of keep you if you can have like a standardized number everyone is just at, essentially, quote unquote, but then have the higher difficulty tiers just put you at those deficits, and and have other modifiers and things. Like I think that's probably where it's going to go, right? Like we can already see a lot
Yeah.
of those stuff in the game already. We just we just still have to, we're just still grinding a power score. So when that evaporates, like they have to have the game in a place where it makes sense for that stuff to be on its own, right? And I think that's what they're figuring out right now. Like they like they're I think they are doing the correct things probably on their side to like start going down that path. But the reality of it is, Destiny being a live game, is they have to work on that stuff over time and do it piece by piece, and also like build upon things. So I think that's just how it was. Ended up being how it was with Lightfall, right? Like it just they maybe presented a lot of stuff and made a lot of changes, so that they can be ready for when they get into this new future of the game and the next kind of era of the game being in these different ways of playing, and with mechanics and things of not having to grind a power score, but having reasons to log in every day or every week to do stuff. Like they're looking at how to do that, and that's probably why the commendations are the way they are to our gear or guardian ranks rather. Not commendations are like, that's just they have to figure out those things to get people to continue to log in, but not just be on like the power treadmill. So
Yeah, every aspect of Destiny is a marathon, not a sprint, especially from the development side. Like they knowing, right, that they're working on season 22 stuff right now, right? Like gives you that idea of like different teams and everything that they're spread across like the year, and that's how they're looking at everything.
yeah,
That mid-season patch with updates to primary ammo weapons to do a little bit more damage in PvE is a thing that they had thought up and started playing before Lightfall came out, because they probably knew where things were going to go. And it's like that kind of foresight and everything that we just have to,
right.
you have to trust it a little bit, trust the process a bit. I know that's, asking a lot from some Destiny community members, certainly. But like, know that it's not like it's bad now and it'll never get better, right? Like if that's how you feel, you just have to like open your eyes a little bit and understand like this is just, you can't do every change you want to do in a single day or in a single patch. You can't fix invisible players in PvE or in PvP and all of the weapon damage stuff like all at the same time, because a lot of these teams have a lot of crossover.
Right.
It's just like it's going to be a bit of a process, but yeah, you just gotta have to be there for that.
Yeah, and also be okay with just putting the game down for a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand there's new fun stuff to do, but also like if that stuff upsets you that much, maybe just wait and then play the stuff later when it's maybe better. And that's that's totally a fine way to play this stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, that's it's somewhat of a tangent. I feel like we just went on for
An
that
important
stuff.
tangent.
But yeah, for sure. I think I think we could maybe talk about some of the seasonal stuff that's been happening. We've had 2 weeks now of seasonal stuff. We've had the story happen, right? But we also had the exotic mission happen, which I like it was like it has like a weird like protocol name, but it's like basically like something Avalon.
Something Avalon. Yeah.
But it was a cool like secret kind of surprise mission that dropped last week. Where we literally just you just load it up onto the EDZ in the area in the EDZ. They didn't give you any indication, like there was no indication in the game yet that mission existed yet. That first week when it dropped.
How did people figure it out?
Um,
How does anyone ever figure any of this out?
Yeah, I know, right? I feel like there was maybe just like a nudge, or maybe somebody was doing something else. Like there's always a thing like that, right? Where it's just, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people who just always search for like wander around to just like
anytime there's a
stuff.
patch, just like they're in the EDZ, they're looking.
Yeah, right. It's just running around zones and seeing what they find. But yeah, basically what it came down to was you go to this section of the EDZ. It's like the sludge, I think is what it's called, and it's kind of like, or it's the gulch maybe, yeah, where it's like this kind of the ravine era. And basically, you will find all of these little like Vex cubes that are floating around in the area. They're like making like little ping noises and stuff. Basically, what you had to do was quickly like run around this area and collect them all as like in and then like a general order. Like they were kind of like set up in a way where once you grab one, you got a timer and you had to kind of run through them to get them all. Once you did that, it opened up like a secret cave entrance that you went into, and then you found this little blue harpy that some Destiny people might remember from the end of Season of the Splicer, which
Love it.
Which little blue harpy showed up at the end of one of the missions there, and had Morse code to sing assistant over and over again. But yeah, this opened up a exotic mission that people could hop into once you did that little thing, and it took you into the Vex network. Somebody was basically calling you into the Vex network, which you soon quickly find out through playing that mission that it was Asher Mir. You find out he is somewhere either trapped or trying to do stuff in the network. We don't really know the full story yet because you don't really actually interact with him directly in the mission. It's more just like him kind of giving you these weird messages, and he's also like Mithrax is like kind of with you in the mission, or like voiceovering with you in the mission. He's like kind of trying to piece these messages to you
that are very funny.
Yeah.
If you're an OG Destiny 2 player and you remember Asher Mir, they're very good.
Yeah, a lot of very good Asher Mir stuff, and there's some other. I think there was other lore this season. I don't know if maybe it was a different place. I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but I remember seeing it where there's like lore about these kids like playing with some like radio, and then Asher Mir like yells at them through it because he's like trying to get a message to somebody.
Yeah, he's trying to get a message out to the tower, and these kids are like on the same frequency, and he's just super upset about it, which is really good.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, it's a really, really cool mission. It's Vex network, so you're like kind of in that crazy, like crazy networky aesthetic, all blocky Tron looking areas. Really, really cool looking like environment. Fun mission to just kind of run through. Definitely probably one of my favorites, probably favorite exotic missions since Presage, probably I would say. It's just that it was really fun.
Agreed. 2
cool like boss encounters. Pretty tough. Even I did it solo. I haven't done it on like, I know it has a legendary version of it still. I have not done any of that stuff yet. Because once you complete it, you get a new exotic weapon called Vex Caliber. It is a void glaive.
It's not a strand
Oh, it's not a
glaive,
strand glaive. We don't have
but
to,
it is green.
yeah, it is green. Or you could get the cool ornament, which I definitely got as right away. That makes it this like cool, like pinkish red that looks really
Mhm.
cool. Really cool looking exotic weapon that has like a really cool perk where whenever you hold up your shield and it absorbs damage, it gives you a void over shield, and you can just kind of continually proc that a bunch in a way that's really fun.
It gives you and any nearby allies void over shield
Nearby
too.
people too, and it looks really cool too if you've seen like somebody using it. Like obviously it looks like all like Vexy networky and it's all like blue and shiny, but like when they put up the shield, it's like a big Vex like energy field. Looks really neat when you do that stuff. Really cool exotic. Um,
With
it,
multiple
with
catalysts that you'll
multiple
get.
catalysts you will get as you do it. So basically, I think it's like what is it like? You find secret chests in the main in this like the standard mission, and then you get the pieces, and then you can go into the legendary version and then unlock catalysts. Similarly to Revision Zero.
Yeah.
So I haven't done that yet. I got kind of burned by doing that a bunch in Season of the Seraph for those running that on Legendary 4 times. It wasn't like impossibly hard considering, but now I know the game is just like a little bit more tougher. I'd rather just wait till they're all out, get all the things I need, and then just like do one big run to just get everything. Because I do like the glaive, but I don't see myself like using it a whole ton,
Hmm.
um, or like fitting into my kit, so to speak. Because I just kind of there's other glaives I still ultimately prefer, just because that one is so void focused. Um, Although it is pretty cool, I still like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've definitely been using a lot. I've made like a couple of different things of because there's no real reliable way to get void overshield as an warlock. It's kind of one of those
Hmm.
things. It's a bit more situational.
Yeah, I think you
So
have to use a fragment, right? I'm pretty sure there's a
yeah,
fragment,
there's a
but
fragment, and there's a newer one too that like if you're low health and you kill an
right.
enemy, you'll get void overshield as well. But this, like, I was trying to stack every survivability aspect of Void Warlock together, of like Devourer and Void Overshield and Karnstein with the glaive for health regen and everything, and
Hmm.
it was really fun. And I love the idea that it's also support and like the different catalysts that you get for it. Like it has the Aegis as one of the perks you can equip, which is one of the new perks where taking damage with the shield up will fill your magazine from reserves, which is really cool as well.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
that's the third one, so that should be out by the time people hear this.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really loved it. I love it also. It's Vex Caliber is the name of the weapon. The whole
Hmm.
mission is kind of like a love letter to Arthurian legends, right? You're going
Hmm.
into a Radiolarian lake. Avalon was the lake that Arthur found Excalibur and the Lady of the Lake and all this. So there is like a cool little mythos to it that is just like a super like sweet cherry on top for
Yeah.
super Arthurian nerds. And yeah, like the additional lore that you get when you go back into the mission with this, like you have like special mods you can equip to the glaive to do things in the mission, which I think is also super cool. Like Mithrax is helping you kind of figure out what Ashermere is finding in the network, and he's trying to figure out where the Black Fleet came from and what the Witness is up to and how the Vex play and all that. And I just
Hmm.
really love that they've like taken this kind of character that was such a no one cares character and made so interesting in this aspect that they exist in. And I just it's so cool. I'm so excited seeing this. I'm really excited to see because a lot of the lore in the game now is kind of indicated that Titan might be the next place that we're going.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
See if they
turning in
do
some way,
like
shape, or form. Yeah.
see if they do the same treatment to Sloan, and potentially a weapon and a mission or everything kind of uh, framed around that as well. I'd love to see that. So yeah, not Brother Vance, but
Yeah.
Sloan is
Yeah.
cool as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely some cool potential stuff they could do with that. Or like bringing back, like they brought back in the, mentioned like they brought back the Radiolarian Lake that he was like always memeing about in the Pyramidion and Brachion, like fucking with him, and like he repurposed Brachion in the Vex network so you can murder him again. So yeah, just like a tons of cool like callbacks to that Destiny 2 early Destiny 2 stuff, and yeah, like you said, like kind of repurposing, so to speak, of Ashir to like basically be he was sort of just like a planetary vendor that was kind of whatever, like you said, like he was like just like weird and obsessed about the Vex sorta, but now that he's like he's infiltrated, he's like almost some in some ways like the most important character right now because he like he has the potential to like find out information about like the Vex and all the stuff that we've never been able to before, and like the Witness and all this other stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
really
in
cool
addition to
potential.
like Devrim coming back in
Yeah,
the
the
seasonal
seasonal
story,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but yeah, really cool stuff. That yeah, I really like that mission again. I'm yeah. Once that catalyst is out, I definitely want to go find all the chests and figure out and see if we can get all those catalysts at once and do it on legendary. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the week 2. But now we are in week 3 of the story, and this week was also a pretty good story week. We got like the last of the heist battlegrounds. There's 3 total, so we got the EDZ and Cosmodrome ones were the last 2 weeks, and then we got the orbital station one, which I immediately I don't know about you, but I did not find that as cool as I was hoping it would be because
Not as cool as I was hoping, but
Yeah.
I like the mission structure, like the actual encounters of the mission. Say for that
Yeah.
first one is like whatever.
Yeah, the
but
first
like,
one's whatever, but then like once
the
you're actually
second
in
and
the
third are good.
yeah,
Yeah.
once you're actually in like the Cabal like ship, it's pretty all right.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff to shoot. But yeah, that was cool. So you basically do that third and final one for the week, pretty standard. Start up to that story mission for the week. Do your battleground runs and whatnot. But once
And
you
then
did once you did that, yeah,
we got a Merida Holidays backstory finally.
yeah, you got more like direct backstory. Like I think some of it had been in lore before, but this was definitely a more direct like storytelling of showing this. Got a really one of those cool kind of like hand drawn looking sketch kind of cutscenes of like her as a kid first showing up to the last city after her parents were like murdered by Fallen, and then her kind of finding her place again in the last city, and also like meeting like the Guardians and them welcoming her with open arms and kind of and it was cool how it was like kind of proposed because you kind of get this initial scene where you go to the farm and see Mithrax and her like drinking together, and like hanging out, and then kind of like just like basically like telling war stories. And that was like Mithrax being like, "So tell me, yeah, like tell you, I want to hear about this origin from you." And it's like cool to hear like Mithrax still just trying to again it was similar with a radio message with him and Devrin last week of like that interesting kind of for like sort of reconciliation of like all the past kind of deeds that they've all been involved with, with humanity being at war with the Fallen, and that being like them being always in this war with Guardians and stuff, but then there's also the humans that were kind of in the midst of that as well, but did not have the ability to be resurrected and have superpowers, but just kind of be here and trying to survive. And Mithrax also like coming also knowing that like the humans were on the other side of this conflict and murdering his people, but ultimately like they were all kind of still just trying to do what was best for their humanity, and now they're they've come around and now they found a common cause, and that was like interesting to kind of see more of those narrative through lines rather through Guardians and the Fallen, but rather actually seeing like the human characters and like kind of their perspectives on all that stuff was cool to see.
Yeah, we still like haven't had a lot of human characters in parts of the seasonal stories, right? Like
Yeah.
Holidays come up a couple of times and she's always great, but like having Devrim in the mix and him talking about his partner and how his partner feels about everything, and also Holiday and getting a lot of that kind of mortal perspective
Yeah.
for all these basically space Jesuses running around,
Yeah,
like
running
throwing
around.
fireballs and stuff.
Yeah, just like being resurrected after slamming into walls and other ridiculous things.
Even like the Elixir can like regrow limbs and grow and shrink to different sizes with the amount of ether they eat. And so like there's definitely like an aspect where humans kind of have this standalone like mortality.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But overall it's a good. I like that. Yeah, the Amanda Holiday scene, just showing her kind of background a little bit more clearly and directly in game. I'm fearful of where it could maybe go south, because I know there was a lot of initial settings of like, some grim feelings about and Amanda Holiday's by the end of this season, where hopefully if she will be alive or not. I guess we'll still see. I feel like there was like a dire scene. I think it was from the trailer where people were kind of getting that vibes of like, geez, yeah, something bad's happening, during this or something. I don't know.
Somebody's gonna die.
Yeah. It's interesting to see her not in the tower and all the stuff she usually sells on Roll.
Yeah, that's true. Always a red flag in Destiny lore,
Always a problem. The last time that happened, granted, last time that happened, Spider disappeared, but he did come back, to be fair.
Yeah,
so maybe
he's fine. He's in some bar in some slum somewhere.
Yeah, so maybe it won't be as bad as we think. But yeah, interesting stuff. Like we probably only have maybe 2 weeks left of the story, I would say. And then like probably 2 more weeks, I would say, and then maybe something like at the very end of the season potentially is usually sometimes that we get that, some kind of finale thing, and then
Guardian games as well.
Guardian games, will soon be upon us as well.
I'm actually looking forward to Guardian games.
Though. Yeah, it'd be fine. I liked it a lot more last year, with that like more challenging like strike scoring playlist. Definitely was kind of something I hope would get into the normal current strike playlist. Maybe that'll still happen, but at least that's still maybe they keep that there to like differentiate it enough from the standard stuff. But yeah, I liked Guardian. I like Guardian games. It'll be cool to get that like that kind of final title that's like for everything. Once you get the Guardians games title, whatever it is, you'll be able to get that. What is it, Reveler title?
Reveler
for doing all the seasonal stuff. So that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And there'll be the end season stuff like Nightfall. The Grandmasters will be here pretty soon. I'm definitely curious and excited to see those. I will say I did the couple of the Nightfalls for the new strike. This current week it is the Hypernet current strike from Neomuna is the Nightfall, and that actually was not that bad as thought as I was.
I was worried the Sparrow part was going to be very bad, but it was fine.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, and I've also seen people have figured out a way to sort of like cut that in half, because there's like a section where you have to still drive on a little bit of part of it, but there's like a section where you can actually jump off and basically like mantle up onto like a second to like a second area, and then just and then it takes you like right to the end basically, so you can like not skip the entire thing, but like probably skip like I don't know like 75% of it.
Excellent.
So I'm sure that'll be put to good use if that really does become a problem in GMs for sure. And it seems like really just the play of that is just like use those laser craniums as much as possible and you will be fine, because they do crazy damage. That could change in the whatchamacallit, the Grandmaster difficulty. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but I'm not fearing that one as much as I thought I would, because it was just a new thing, and I know, when Witch Queen showed up, when those 2 new ones came in for the first time, they were definitely spicy. But I'm sure there will be plenty of talk of when the Mars Nightfall, the Grandmaster Mars Battleground will definitely not be a fun thing to do, I'm sure, but
yeah, that's the one.
We'll get there when we get there, and the new ones we'll have to see how doing Lake of Shadows, new Lake of Shadows 2.0 and Arms Dealer 2.0 goes. I think Arms Dealer 2.0 might be fine, but Lake of Shadows might be tricky. But we'll see how those go for sure.
All the people this is for all the people complaining about a specific thing, plenty of that covered today. All the people that were hating on Lake of Shadows and Arms Dealer, get over it. I'm talking to you. Get over it.
They're fine. They're not really that big of a
They're
deal.
fine. They're fun.
Yeah, I don't really mind the difference of them. I will say, like, I wouldn't mind if, like, that first initial, like, the carry section by the church in Lake of Shadows was not existent, and you can just go to the next one that's, like, in the more proper area, like, sort of how, like, the original Lake of Shadows started, like, just, like, let us spare up through the building and then actually start the combat in there. But it's not, at the end of the day, that's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're fine. I don't have a problem with them. And now that people, like, know how, like, I think you know, you had that initial reaction of just people doing them the first time and learning them, and that them feeling longer because of that. But I want to say, like, I did an arms dealer this week at some point doing straight play style. I think it was like under 10 minutes already to, like, zoom in through it, because people just know how to, like, we already have learning how to do those. We're just gonna do them over and over again, and it'll be fine. They'll get faster. It's fine. It's not a big deal, for sure. But yeah, I think that's mostly it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other things. Like we said, there's some patches. We already talked about a lot of patch stuff. We know there's a mid-season patch coming, where they're going to buff some PvE stuff. I'm looking forward to that. Like you said, Guardian Games is upcoming. Looking forward to that.
We got the names of the new strand aspects.
Right. That's right. We did. So I think what was that? That was last week's TWAB, right?
Last week's TWAB, yeah. I'll pull it up now.
Yeah. We should talk a little bit about that, because they did tell us essentially next season, in Season of the Deep, we are going to be getting a story quest that's going to be us with Osiris going to Neo Muna and getting a little bit more information about the Veil. And in doing that, we will also, like you said, unlock an additional strand aspect for each class, and that'll also, they also said that'll be free for all players. So as long as you own Lightfall now, you won't have to own the season to even play that. That'll just be a thing you get. They also showed that you'll be getting that hand cannon that is in the promo art for Lightfall. That'll be like a legendary drop for the words. We don't know if that's going to be a thing where maybe that's like weapons in those styles are going to be the seasonal weapons for that season now, or if it's just going to be that hand cannon on its own, because people have definitely some weird things about, obviously, we've talked about a lot of Lightfall discourse, and that it is what it is at this point. There definitely is a vibe that I would not be surprised by, and if they started building Lightfall and then had to, like, make changes, or ended up, like, shifting things around because, hey, making video games is hard and they got to shift them around. As you can clearly see, when we first saw the reveal of Lightfall, that hand cannon was in that promo art when they revealed it for the first time. There was other weapons too, like there's like that grenade launcher. Like I remember we talked about it in a couple episodes ago. I talked about it in that CG trailer. Like they showed those weapons in promos months ago. So it's clear that, like, there probably were supposed to be maybe those are supposed to be those Neomuna weapons originally, but maybe they just shifted course, and maybe they changed it, or maybe they had other plans for those weapons and another thing, and it just was not ready for the main launch. Just is what it is. And now it seems like we're at least beginning that hand cannon in this new season, with this new mission, and maybe we'll get those other ones too at some point, or maybe those will just be the new seasonal weapons for next season. I guess we'll see. We don't really know, but hey, it is what it is. I don't think it's like, I think the Neomuna weapons we got were fine. I get they were like reskinned or whatever, but I think it's fine that they're at least going to be putting them into the game now.
Yeah, just give me ways to get more red borders, because good God, I just haven't gotten a single pattern. It's a bummer. Yeah, the bit here, throughout the quest, players will explore the city to learn about the nature of the Veil through Osiris's research and newly uncovered Ishtar collective data. And then the 3 new aspects for the Titan, Fletched Storm. Sounds cool. I don't know. Again, they said speculate away on these, but don't know what Fletched Storm could be. For the Hunter, Threaded Spectre, which sounds very cool. And the Warlock, the Wanderer.
Okay, so Fletched Storm, I might have an idea about.
Okay,
because you remember when they first showed off Lightfall, and they showed off a bunch of pre-conceptual stuff. They showed a Titan doing like a big tornado spin.
Yeah.
So I bet that I wouldn't be surprised if they just like had to rework that into like some new ability that the Titan would
Like a
have.
slide melee, perhaps.
Like a slide
yeah.
melee or something like that. Yeah, like where he does like a big tornado spin and it probably, I bet it'll sever or unravel something, do one of the verbs on an enemy and stuff. That's pretty cool. Threaded Spectre.
Sounds like some invisibility stuff, like the Spectre part of it.
Sounds
right?
like it sounds like an invisibility, or what I think would also be really rad would be like some kind of like decoy or clone sort of thing.
Ooh, yeah.
Like if you could leave some kind of like decoy, but like if you could do like a dodge and the hunter leaves like a green strand decoy and that like can like get enemy's attention
or something. Yeah.
Or maybe like when you do your super, it'll like make one and it'll like do some stuff for a brief period.
Maybe people can like grapple to it for free or something like to
with that. Yeah, that'd be pretty neat. Wanderer for that.
The only thing I'm thinking of is like a mobile rift of some kind. That's like that's what's coming in my head.
Yeah, like a mobile rift, or like I was thinking like a bigger minion to summon. That's what I was thinking. Like maybe like. Once you have, if you have a certain amount of hatchlings, you can convert those hatchlings into like some bigger thing that'll like roam around and like attack stuff. That would be my guess, but
that'd be cool for sure. But yeah, that's exciting. It's good to know.
Yeah, new aspects. Figured we would get new stuff for the class each season. So yeah, cool for sure. And I'm sure that'll come with other stuff as well. We're not, in the grand scheme of things, we're like not that far away from the new season. Really, if you really think about it, like we'll be like, we'll be March. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be like the 20, probably like the 20th or the 21st. The new season, the next season is May. I think it's May 22nd. So that's like we'll be 2 months away basically. So I'm sure we'll start seeing more stuff soon.
The way things will like roll out will be quick. Like we'll get Guardian games probably really close to the end of the season, and then we'll have like 1 week off, and then boom, new season, new story, everything. So
new stuff to do, and we'll have like other stuff too. Like they said, like manual. I know we're getting manual deep sight. That's like the thing where we can make weapons that have are able to be crafted into red borders if they aren't already, which will be pretty cool. And I think some of the ways to enhance a weapon will come, but I think that's just for like the raid adepts,
raid weapons. Yeah.
So that we'll get the first taste of that. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff to check out next season. And of course, a new dungeon. It's gonna be always, dungeons are always really cool. I'd be really stoked. Again, I'd be really stoked if it is a Titan season. If we somehow go to Titan
dungeon.
I
didn't even think of that.
Yeah, like a Titan dungeon. Yeah, that'd be super rad. Or just like Titan as like a patrol zone again. Like that's but it's all like been like fucked up by like the darkness or something. Like I'm thinking like in similar to like when we got Season of the Haunted and we got Leviathan back. I could see like maybe them trying to do something like that again, but granted, they said it would be
Mars.
It'd be different. Yeah, or like Mars, where it is like you just have that
cuts into the golden age,
Yeah, we just have that mission again, and like you essentially are like running through Savathun's song Strike, but like not having to do Savathun's song, maybe.
We can hope.
Yeah, plenty of good stuff to look forward to ahead. But yeah, I think that's kind of that's gonna do it. It was a shorter episode, but we're starting to get into the throes of the seasonal content, right? So it won't be as big as the talk as there will be going forward in terms of stuff until we get closer and closer to that new season, probably. But yeah, Helm to Tower.
Yeah, I would.
Oh, go ahead.
My column for March is going to be effectively my Lightfall review. Now that we've got the raid and all that's out,
Nice,
so look
excellent.
forward to that. sometime the next couple of weeks. I'm sure maybe we'll do some other types of things as well. And I don't know if we're gonna like if we want to change how often we do the recording as we kind of get out of the seasonal stuff. But it definitely feels like there's plenty to talk about.
Yeah, no, I think we can still, I'm still definitely here to good with continuing to do this weekly. If everyone is here everyone is, wants us to keep doing weekly episodes, I'm happy to do them. And thanks everybody for been listening and stuff, of course, or watching. Yeah, we're definitely gonna keep it going, and we'll ebb and flow. Like we said, we missed that 1 week. Sometimes that'll happen, and just because life gets to us. But we're gonna try keeping it weekly, as long as there's fun stuff to talk about in Destiny, or even sometimes when there's maybe not the most fun stuff to talk about, and in the world of Destiny. Unfortunately, with the passing of Lance, but he will be missed, and just want to say again, we said it, but love, sending all the love to his family and loved ones, well wishes, and just thanks for being a part of this community in some way, shape, or form. It sucks to we have to, sucks I'm saying this now, post mortem, but I was always appreciative of his love of the community and clear dedication to that character, and it was, you could tell that it mattered to him. And it mattered to him that the community saw that, and I think that was really powerful. And you can tell just how many people from Bungie who even worked with him directly or maybe indirectly, and see how much they are heartbroken by this news. Really shows how much of an impact he's had on this community, and yeah, he'll definitely be missed. For sure. But yeah. That's going to do it for this episode of the Helm to Tower podcast. Yeah, we'll be back next week. I think next week, I've said this multiple times, and I know we should, and this time we should maybe actually do it. It depends, I guess, what kind of news we get. Again, as always, I think that'll trump it, but we should maybe get our prediction caps on and do some seasonal predictions, maybe make some wacky theories. I don't even know. We can maybe look back at some of the older predictions we made and see how terrible we were at those, but have some fun with that kind of stuff as well, in the future.
Got it. Yeah, I got some crazy theories, don't worry.
Excellent. So look forward to that, everyone. Thanks again for watching or listening, anywhere you are. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.